In Shawwal of 5th Hijrah, disbelievers joined forces and became the biggest army to fight against Muslims. These included the Quraysh of Mecca, the surrounding tribes of Ghatfan, and the Jews of Medina, like Banu Nadir, who were banished to Al-Khaybar by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam outside of Medina. So a total of almost 12 to 15,000 disbelievers got together and made a confederation. And in comparison, the Muslims in Medina were roughly 3,000 in number. So the army was about 5 times more than the strength of the Muslims. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam consulted with Sahaba on the war strategy for this situation. There were many ideas presented, but Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam liked the suggestion of Salman al-Farsi, which was to block the army from reaching Medina by building a trench. And it is important to understand the geography of Medina to appreciate how this was a smart strategy. Medina was surrounded by rocky mountains and trees, except from the north, behind the Mount of Sana. So if Muslims were to dig a trench on this passage, it would block the armies from entering into the city. Now, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself made a marking on the ground to indicate where this trench should be dug. It was meant to be 5 kilometers long, about 15 feet wide and 15 feet deep. It was a very difficult task. The battle occurred in winter, and there were no tools that the Muslims had to dig the ground, so everything had to be done by hand. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam appointed Zayd bin Haritha as the leader of Muhajirin, and Sa'ad bin Ubayd as the leader of Ansar. And people are divided into teams and assigned a patch of land to dig up the trench. Now, Salman al-Farsi was an immigrant from Persia, so he neither belonged to Muhajirin nor Ansar. And because he was the expert mastermind behind this approach, both Muhajirin and Ansar wanted to include him in their own teams. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saw a dispute arising, so he solved it by announcing Salmanu minna Ahlul Bayt, that Salman is from the Ahlul Bayt, meaning the family of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So in the end, Salman al-Farsi made a team by having some people from Muhajirin and Ansar with him, and he began digging. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself was helping the Sahaba in digging. So this is where he showed his leadership by example, by involving not only in the strategy of the battle, but doing the work by hand himself. And while he was digging, he was making this dua at the same time. Al-Bara bin Azib in Bukhari, he says, رأيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يوم الخندق ينقل معنا التراب وهو يقول والله لولا الله ما هديتنا ولا صمنا ولا صلينا فأنزلنا سكينة علينا وثبت الأقدام إن لاقينا والمشركون قد بغوا علينا إذا أرادوا فتنة أبينا. Al-Bara bin Azib says, I saw the Prophet ﷺ on the day of the Battle of Khandaq, carrying earth with us and saying, by Allah, without Allah we would not have been guided, neither would we have fasted, nor we would have prayed. O Allah, send down sakina, calmness upon us, and make our feet firm when we meet the enemy. The pagans have rebelled against us, but if they want to put us in affliction, we refuse to flee. So the trench was completed in 6 days, and Muslims were then prepared to face off with the enemies. But as the Muslims got ready, one internal issue arose. The Jewish tribe of Banu Qurayza, who resided in a fortress southeast of Medina, they had a peace treaty with Muslims that they will neither participate in support of Muslims nor against them. But then Banu Qurayza broke their pledge, and they decided to side with the disbelievers. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent a delegate with Sa'ad bin Mu'adh and Sa'ad bin Ubayd to assess the situation, and they both confirmed that the treaty has been breached. Then one more situation happened. The hypocrites in Medina started to back out. Some of them openly opposed Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, while others made excuses and left the battlefield. So the battle started as armies lined up on both sides. There were arrows shot every day, but no conclusion was in sight, even after a month. And then there was one particular day, the battle became so intense that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and companions had to remain engaged in fight throughout the day and did not even get a chance to pray until Isha. So they missed 4 of their prayers that day. Finally, as things became unbearable for Muslims, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prayed against the disbelievers for 3 consecutive days. And then Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala sent a cold wind, a storm that uprooted tents of armies, and they had to run away and announce retreat. He also sent angels to put fear in the hearts of disbelievers, and they understood that the only way to protect themselves from this situation is to run away.